For week 9, we began to build a menu-driven application that will accept keyboard input from the user and allow us to add projects to our project database. When we run the application, presents the user right now with only two options, either add a project or enter to quit the application. If we hit enter, it exits. We run it again. Entering anything else other than one, any number other than one will give us that number is not valid. Please try again. If we put a junk string, it's going to throw an error, handle it gracefully and say that's not valid, try again. We actually go to add a project. It'll ask for our user input for the project name. So paint the fence. Estimated hours, say 3. Enter total number of hours, say 1. Difficulty also has validation. So if I put in a bunk string, it's going to give me an error and just only accept 1 through 5. So if I put 6 in, just hit enter. Finally put an accepted value, it goes on, ask for notes. So it's going to connect to my database. It's going to create the project and then print it out. So we accomplish this in our projects app class. We instantiate a scanner object to take the user input and a project service object to pass the user input to the data object layer. You have an instance variable of a string, list of strings called operations. And then in our main method, we call the process user selection method. So process user selection starts off with an instance variable. It's a Boolean called done, which we set to false. Then we have a while statement. So while done is false, we're going to run the get user selection method. Get user selection essentially just takes the user input and then either default prints out it's not valid, try again. For 1, it creates a project, and then we convert null values into -1, which exits the menu, like was just demonstrated. For creating a project option, we call the create project method. Create project will create a project object. We've built out a project class with all the instance variables, getters and setters, and a custom toString method, which you saw down here when it printed the object. Once we have the user input, we set that user input on the project object instance variables, and then we call the add project method on the project service object, passing that project object. Project service is just a pass-through. It's going to create a project DAO object and call the insert project method. The insert project method is going to start off with a string with our SQL statement and some substitution variables. We're going to open up a connection. We're going to start the transaction, and then we're going to create our prepared statement object. The prepared statement is going to use our open connection and pass the prepared statement method, that SQL string that we created. And then we're going to use the set parameter option to change the statement to have the parameters from our project objects, so name, hours, difficulty. We then execute the update. We grab the ID that the SQL server assigned to the object once it put it in the row. We commit the transaction. We then set that ID as the project ID instance variable on the project object. All of this is wrapped in try with resources, so it auto closes when done, and we have try catches to roll back the transaction if it doesn't work and catch any SQL exceptions. If you go over to dbeaver and I refresh the project, you can see I just added, you can see the project ID 2, paint the fence. Project ID 2, paint the fence.